The Idomeni refugee camp on the border between Greece and Macedonia. Some say the refugees there have turned into detainees. They're in a legal limbo, unable to really go anywhere at all. In the wake of last week's deal to curb the influx of migrants, the United Nations says places like this have become detention facilities. The UN suspended some of its activities in Greece. Many of the people in the Idomeni refugee camp are from Syria. While much of the world's attention is focused on the flow of refugees from Syria, a steady stream of immigrants continues to pour into the United States, many of them from Central America, and most of them requesting asylum. A large number of those new arrivals are children who pose a serious social challenge. CCTV's Hendrik Sybrandy reports from the U.S. state of Colorado.
Alex Iglesias was 15 years old when he left El Salvador to build a new and better life in America. It was a difficult journey. Much of it was made on foot. Everyday comforts were scarce.
Sometimes we don't have food. You know, sometimes we eat one a day because that's all we have.
He traveled with a group of migrants. Too often it was every man for himself at places like water crossings.
Feels like you're going to die because it's like so packed. People are pushing and pushing. They don't care. Everybody's trying to survive.
And yet they keep coming, many of them unaccompanied children. Over 20,000 minors under the age of 18 crossed the U.S.-Mexico border without parents between last October and February of this year. Most of them fled Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador.
They're running from gangs. They're running from violence. They've been abandoned by parents.
Immigration attorney Terry Lopez says gangs in particular prompt migrants to head north.
They're after the boys, so they will threaten the family, pay us, pay us, pay us, or we will kill someone in your family.
Once they reach the border, most of these immigrants ask for asylum in the U.S. Officials search for a relative or friend of theirs they can live with. Many of them end up in federal detention centers.
They are still placed in removal proceedings, and they have to defend their case to stay in the United States and have lawful status here. So
Abby Johnson says attorneys like her represent some minors, but not nearly enough.
They are not provided with an attorney at government expense. So you have children who are going up in front of the judge alone, children who we've had to help into the chair.
She calls that unjust. The vast majority of young immigrants without attorneys are deported. A backlog of cases continues to clog U.S. courts.
Almost like they're in the dark, in the shadows, because they're not headline news.
15 years after he arrived in the U.S., Alex, who has what's called temporary protected status, continues to provide for his family in El Salvador.
Right now, I feel so happy because this country helped me so much.
Many others are now traveling the same road he did. Hendrik Sybrandy, CCTV, Denver.